Our fourth reading is Matthew chapter 13, verses 1 through 9 and 18 through 23. I have to admit, this is one of my favorite verses in the whole Bible. That day Jesus went out of the house and sat down beside the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he climbed into a boat and sat down. The whole crowd was standing on the shore. He said many things to them in parables. A farmer went out to scatter seed. As he was scattering seed, some fell on the path, and birds came and ate it. Other seed fell on the rocky ground, where the soil was shallow. They sprouted immediately because the soil wasn't deep. But when the sun came up, it scorched the plants, and they dried up because they had no roots. Other seed fell among thorny plants. The thorny plants grew and choked them. Other seed fell on the good soil and bore fruit. In one case, a yield of 100 to 1. In another case, a yield of 60 to 1. And in another case, a yield of 30 to 1. Everyone who has ears should pay attention. Consider then the parable of the farmer. Whenever people hear the word about the kingdom and don't understand it, the evil one comes and carries off what was planted in their hearts. This is the seed that was sown on the path. As for the seed that was spread on rocky ground, this refers to people who hear the word and immediately receive it joyfully. Because they have no roots, they last only for a little while. When they experience distress or abuse because of the word, they immediately fall away. As for the seed that was spread among thorny plants, this refers to those who hear the word, but the worries of this life and the false appeal of wealth choke the word, and it bears no fruit. As for what was planted on good soil, this refers to those who hear and understand and bear fruit and produce. In one case, a yield of 100 to 1, in another case, a yield of 60 to 1, in another case, a yield of 30 to 1. This is the word of the Lord. I brought in some daisies this morning that I picked along the roadside, and you might have seen the title of this. It's called I'd Pick More Daisies. My wife Anissa loves daisies. Does anyone else like them? I don't know if I've never noticed this before or this is just an exceptional year, but if you notice driving along the road, there are a lot of daisies this year. I don't know what happened. I don't know. The good Lord blessed us with a lot of daisies, but I've noticed them more than ever on any other year. Especially if you drive along Route 250 down by Tappan, all along the north side of the road, it seems they're so plentiful down there. It just seems like there's so many, and it's a beautiful sight while driving. Don't take your eyes off the road, though, especially down on 250. Be careful. During my freshman year of college, I woke up one morning and had this paper. Yes, this one. This isn't a photocopy. This is the actual paper that slid under my dorm room door. I don't know who put it there. I assume it was my RA. I don't know, but maybe it came from a higher power, because only a higher power would know that I needed this in my life. As you can see, it's meant a lot to me. I've kept it for 32 years. I believe it was given to me by a higher power, even more now than ever, because of the title and the connection to my wife, whom at that point I'd never met in my life. Even at that young age, it really opened my eyes to living life to the fullest, appreciating the small things in life, and never taking anything for granted. I'd like to share this with you and read it to you. I hope you embrace it just as I have. The title of it is I'd Pick More Daisies. This was written by an 88-year-old man. If I had my life to live over, I'd try to make more mistakes next time. I would relax. I would limber up. I would be sillier than I have been this trip. I know very few things that I would take seriously. I would be crazier. I would be less hygienic. I would take more chances. I would take more trips. I would climb more mountains, swim more rivers, and watch more sunsets. I would burn more gasoline. I would eat more ice cream and fewer beans. I would have more actual problems and fewer imaginary ones. You see, I'm one of those people who live prophylactically and sensibly insanely, hour after hour, day after day. Oh, I've had my moments, and if I had to do it over again, I'd have more of them. In fact, that's all I'd have, just moments, one after another, instead of living so many years ahead of each day. I've been one of those people who never go anywhere without a thermometer, a hot water bottle, a gargle, a raincoat, and a parachute. If I had to do it over again, I would go places and do things and travel lighter than I have. If I had my life to live over, I would start barefoot earlier in the spring and stay that way later in the fall. I would play hooky more. I would ride on more merry-go-rounds. I'd pick more daisies. again, obviously impacted me back when I was 18 years old, and have kept that with me forever. So, and will. I'd struggle to find it, though, to be honest with you, because I knew I had it, but earlier in the week I was struggling to find it. I could almost recite it, but I knew I had it. So here are some things that I've learned from this and things that I think we all can take from it. First of all, I believe this was given to me by God for a couple reasons. First, as I mentioned, only He would know that I needed this in my life at that young age. Second, I've cherished this message since it was given to me. And then, when I met my wife 2 years after receiving this, I found out she liked daisies. It wasn't her inner or outer beauty, her superior intelligence, her great personality, nor her faith in God that won me over, but her love for daisies. Even to the point that instead of throwing rice at our wedding as we exited this building, we had our guests throw daisy blooms. I often pick Anissa daisies throughout the summer, not only because she likes them, but to remind us of the lessons in life, in living life to the fullest and picking more daisies. The second thing we can take from this message, just what I said about living life to the fullest. Don't look back and have regrets because you didn't do something, or didn't pause for moments throughout each day and be thankful for what you have been provided, rather than focusing on what others have and you don't have. I see so many people around me focused on keeping up with the Joneses or comparing themselves to everyone else and trying to be who they are not. These people never take the time to pick daisies. They don't see the beauty right in front of them and in their own lives because they are too focused on what is not in front of them. I heard a saying a long time ago that goes, "Comparison is the thief of joy." I later found out the former President Teddy Roosevelt made that statement. And I got to pause right here. I didn't have this written down, but after I had my sermon written before I found the bulletin, before Keith sent me the bulletin. Didn't know how I was going to relate to our verses and didn't know, how I was going to relate to everything. But so Keith sends me the bulletin, and right at the call to worship, what's one word that's in our call to worship? Your word is our heritage forever, the joy of our hearts. And I'm talking about joy. And then, as we listen to in Matthew, we talk about seed falling on ground, and I'm talking about daisies. And they just keep replenishing themselves. So it's amazing how God works and puts everything together. Throughout the Bible, we can find the word joy many times. I did a search in my Bible app, and I really didn't realize how many times joy or joyous was in the Bible. It's amazing. For example, in Proverbs 10:28, the expectations of the righteous result in joy, but the hopes of the wicked will perish. In John 15:11, I have said these things to you so that my joy will be in you and your joy will be complete. Galatians 5:22, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. Proverbs 17:22, a joyful heart helps healing, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. So going back to that statement by Teddy Roosevelt, we have to be cautious of comparing ourselves to others. We don't want to lose our joy, which is something obviously very powerful if it's in the Bible that many times. The third lesson from I'd Pick More Daisies is to live life abundantly by enjoying what God has created for us. I believe God wants us to live abundantly. He has created everything in our world that is there for us to enjoy. How many times do you overlook and take for granted the things that He has given us? It's easy to do. This past Christmas morning, we were at our house in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. It's on the Atlantic side of the state, so the sunrises are pretty awesome. I wanted to get up on Christmas morning and go watch the sunrise. After all, how many times do you get to watch the sunrise on a beach, let alone on Christmas morning? So I woke Anissa up, said, come on, we're going to go watch sunrise. She reluctantly got out of bed and came with me. Just wanted to make sure we watched it. I think watching those sunrises and sunsets must have been embedded in me from the story of I'd Pick More Daisies. There was no need for a service that morning. God provided the most amazing service for us through the sounds of the waves, the wind, and the birds, the smell of the fresh saltwater breeze, the warmth from the big orange ball rising from the horizon, and the vibrant glow of the colors all mixing together as we thank God for the birth of His Son, Jesus Christ. It would have been easy to stay in bed that morning and get some more sleep. In fact, I probably would have not known what we missed. And that's just the point of me telling you all about this. God has provided us with so many amazing, beautiful, joyous, and life-giving elements. We need to embrace these natural God-given pieces of our life. He made them for us to enjoy. We all hear the stats of how many people are suffering from anxiety, especially in our youth. It seems like this is an epidemic sweeping our nation. As the one line says here, and I'd pick more daisies, and it is all in all caps, I would have more actual problems and fewer imaginary ones. In my opinion, much of the anxiety that is around our world today could be eliminated if more people would unplug from their technology, get outside, and connect with the one who has provided everything we need in our lives. How many individuals with anxiety have ever run barefoot through their yard or had mud from a creek bed squished between their toes, or lay on their back in the grass on a summer day and watch the clouds go over the top, or simply be outside and take a deep breath? I believe God heals everything through the elements He has provided us. The fourth thing from I'd Pick More Daisies that we can take from this is to use all of our God-given ability. We all have been blessed with amazing abilities from our Creator. The tragic truth is that the majority of us don't tap into these abilities, and we never get to experience them. This happens for many reasons. We're conditioned to play it safe. We are taught to follow others. We're chastised for having thoughts and ideas outside of the norm. We're not encouraged enough as children to be creative. And I could go on and on with reasons why we don't ever use our full potential. Gandhi once said, "The difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing would suffice to solve most of the world's problems." I've realized that our bodies are capable of amazing things. My family and friends think I'm crazy for doing some of the things that I do and try, but I want to push my body and mind beyond all the limits. For example, and I'm not telling you these things because I want to get pats on the back, but rather to inspire you to do more. Today I'm celebrating exactly 2 years and 1 day of running at least 2 miles each day. Every day, except for 1 day. And I have a good reason for that. I missed 1 day because my appendix almost ruptured and I had to have surgery. So I think that was a good reason. And that wasn't the day that I had the surgery. I ran the morning of the surgery. I didn't run the next day because I was in too much pain. So that's why I got 2 years and 1 day. Now I'm complete. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I don't know what I'm going to do. When you do something that long, it's just becomes second nature and you just get up and do it. I don't know. My last song that I listened to this morning when I was running, if you're an 80s junkie with 80s songs, it was The Police, King of Pain. So I think that's a sign I should keep running and keep my pain going. Another thing I just recently did, I just did a 3-day water-only fast. Yeah, no food for 3 days. I've done an 8-day fast before, a few years ago. Why? Many reasons. Health, there's, believe it or not, good, healthy things for that. Mind strengthening, just to get my mind to understand that I can do something. Strengthens your mind. And to connect with God. I've read where to do fasts, anytime you're hungry and you feel like you can't make it, you pray. And that's every time I've done a fast, that's what I've done. Those are just 2 of the crazy things I've done. I've got many more. I don't want to bore you with all those details, but I just don't want to take anything for granted, and I want to live life to the fullest. The truth is, I don't do those things for accolades or to compare myself to others. I just talked about comparison. I do them to prove to myself that I can push my body to its fullest potential. When I leave this life, I want my body to be used up, the fuel tank on empty, the battery at 0%. I want to meet Jesus, and I want him to say, "Good job in using up what we've provided for you." I also want you to know I don't just go out there and do dangerous things without calculated risks. It's not like I have a death wish. I make educated decisions, and More than anything, I trust in the Lord, that he'll lead me and guide me at all times. He'll show me the path to follow, and he'll put up some roadblocks where I shouldn't go. I don't live recklessly, but maybe right on the edge. So going back to our story of I'd pick more daisies, no matter what age you are, what would you add to this story? What would you do more? If you knew your time was limited on life, on earth here, and you knew you had very little time left, what would you do? I encourage you to get out of your comfort zone, unplug from your technology, stop saying, I could never do that, or I'm too old. My advice is to pray to God and let him decide your path. I pray you leave here today and decide to live the abundant life God has provided for you. I hope you enjoy the little things. I hope you pick more daisies.